Happy Friday, Roundchild Ranchers. I hope that you had a wonderful week. Our week had its ups and downs. As you may have seen, the individual that was responsible for neglecting Ellie and Apollo, there was a court case actually yesterday. And what ended up happening was that the case was postponed. And the reason being is that the prosecutor is trying to get all of her ducks in a row in order to incur 7 more charges against the woman. So it's going to take a couple of weeks. I think the next court case is supposed to be sometime in early November. So it's good and it's bad. The good part of it is that with the more charges that it brings more time as far as a penalty and a sentence, and it also changes courts. So it's my understanding that right now the case that the court is in is a lower level court, meaning that it's essentially like it's like one level above small claims. And the court that the new charges would push it up a court or two. I'm not really familiar with the levels of court, but the new court has much stiffer penalties. So while the case has been delayed, the end result that we're hopefully going to get is going to be a much stiffer sentence. And for those that don't know, a lot of times with animal abuse, especially with farm animals, horses, cows, pigs, that kind of thing, the sentencing on the neglect and the abuse is just a slap on the wrist. And they're essentially seen as possessions, like a car, that you have ownership of, and they are not seen as sentient, living, breathing beings with emotions and needs, and they're just not seen as being alive, essentially. So there need to be more court cases where it's brought to light that, they are living, breathing beings that, need to be taken care of just like any other living, breathing being. And, court cases like this, and then, petitions like I asked you guys to sign, hopefully will bring to light that the community and society don't necessarily think the same way as how the laws are written. And, the judges have the ability to put on the sentences that they see fit based on the law. But petitions and mainly the petition was so that the prosecutor didn't do a plea deal so that it wouldn't go to court, and the plea deal, would have been not a very stiff. There probably wouldn't have been a sentence at all. It probably would have just been community service, which the sheer number of animals that were that died at this woman's hands is just reprehensible. And then the hundreds more that ended up needing to go to different rescues, and of those that didn't make it because they were so badly neglected that they couldn't be saved. Ellie and Apollo are two of the lucky ones. I know of several that just didn't make it, and you can read it on the petition also. But I know from people that took horses that unfortunately, horses are incredibly large animals, but their system is incredibly fragile. We found that out this week, which is the other thing that happened with Ellie. There was a 40-degree temperature drop here, and it was in the 80s, and then a cold front came through, and bam, it was in the 40s at night, and Ellie's system couldn't handle it. I came out to feed, and she wasn't acting right, and her tell when she is not feeling well is that she raises her paw, and literally in the barrel that she's eating, she puts her hoof, in the barrel. And she continues to do it. So that's her tell that she is in pain. And as soon as that happened, I started taking measures. The basic gist of it is that she had a mild case of colic. She ended up, I ended up doing some treatments on her, and she ended up laying down, not rolling, fortunately, and she got up, and then she ended up passing gas, and then she was fine. I continued treatment throughout the day. I kept an eye on her just to make sure that she was okay. But that's just one example of how incredibly fragile their system is. Just that massive change in temperature, threw Ellie's system for a loop. So for the, horses that are starved, much like Apollo was, we were lucky with Apollo. Apollo was, relatively speaking, an easy case back, because all he really needed was to have food. His system wasn't shutting down at all, like was happening with some of the other horses that I'm thinking of, and that didn't make it. Literally week after week. In 1 week, you could see him gaining weight. And like I said, we were very, very fortunate with him that he wasn't in organ failure or any of his organs were affected. What happened with these other horses, because they were, their bodies just couldn't handle it, their organs started shutting down, and unfortunately they weren't being saved. And that's because of this woman. And their story needs to be heard. Ellie and Apollo's story needs to be heard. So we can just stop it. It's gone on for too long. And hopefully with this case and with the increase advocacy that's happening for the horses that were affected, there were about 30 rescues that were involved, not only with the horses, but with the pigs and the sheep and the alpacas and the emus and the cows, the steers. and the various other animals that were there, you know, they all need a voice. And hopefully, with it being, the word being spread, you know, they will gain their voice through us. And they will get justice, because I can't say, it's just wrong. I mean, that's what it just boils down to. What she did was wrong. And that the animals are only a portion of it. The other portion of it that she was doing was that she had lost her nonprofit status, but still was fundraising as though she had it. So, you know, there's fraud charges in there as well. That's why I say you have to be very, very careful with the organizations that you support. That's why we are adamant about being so transparent with what is happening here, where your money goes, how your money is spent, because it's a trust factor. You need to trust us that we are doing the best for the animals, and that when you support us, it goes directly to the animals. And that's what it does. You know, it goes to the hay that they're eating right now. It goes to the feed that they ate for dinner, and all of the medication that they're on. So, you know, hopefully, at many, many levels, the individual will be held accountable for what happened in New Jersey. That's really what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I usually don't get this serious, but it's an important topic that we advocate for the animals. Yes, we take care of them, but we also have to advocate for them every opportunity that we have. Right, buddy? So that's really it for this week, guys. I'll give you a quick view of these guys, of Louie and Abers, who happen to be up here for the moment. They just finished their dinner, but they're doing well. I'm sure they're gonna scooch on down, or up, I should say, to the fourth pasture. But they're doing very, very well. Louie's been affected also with the temperature change. His tremors have come back. Not as bad, but you can really see that the change in temperature and the change in the seasons has affected him. Not weight-wise, thank God. He still looks great that way, but as far as his neurological issues, they have come back a little bit. So, so as I've talked about before, you know, I'm going to more seriously look into him being moved to a climate where it's more a steady temperature of around 70. You know, it's not going to get much below 70, 65. He can handle that. You know, we're in the 40s and low 50s, and his body just can't take that. So I'm going to reach out to some organizations and be a little more aggressive with trying to get him someplace that is going to be more comfortable for him. You know, he does great in the summer here. He flourishes, but you know, the winter and the changing seasons is really what throws him for a loop. And And he deserves better than that. You know, he's still just a young guy. He's only 13. You know, he's got a long life ahead of him, where he deserves to be happy. And he deserves to feel better. And if that's not here, and it's somewhere else where, you know, the temperature is about 70 all the time, so be it. We'll get him there. Some way, somehow, we will find his Shangri-La. All right, guys, way too heavy this week. So sorry. But there's a lot on the mind and on the plate, and you guys are the ones who I tell, so. All right, Roanchar Ranchers, I hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next Friday. Be well, guys.